But right now, I have the great opportunity to introduce you to a powerful man of God. And I didn't ask him for bio. I had an opportunity earlier on, and I said, the Holy Spirit said no. But I want to tell you that there should be opportunity for fruit. If you are who you say you are, there ought to be some evidence of that. One of the things that I want to tell you about Jay Hassell, that he's a man of God and is a man of truth. He's a man of excellence, he's a man of quality, okay? He knows his business. And I want to, there's so much else that I could share with you. He's a family man. He has a wife and children, and you can share more of that if you care to, because that's important. Because when you are a man of God, it's important that you minister to your family first. And I see that happening. I saw your your Facebook page. I have great expectations for him to come up and to share with you and me what God has given him related to branding and business. And I heard him say something when I first met you two here, and he talked about how God and how the whole purpose of what he and Burke want to see happen here is to make sure that they're focusing on keeping God first. Wow. And I mean, I was like, I told my husband when I got home, and I'm going to invite him to come up and sit here with me. Yeah, he's looking at me while he just came back because he's got food in his mouth. But I want him to come up. He's my wind beneath my wings. But I heard that they were family men, and I went back and I told my husband, I said, I met two businessmen that are on a level of success that God has brought them down. They acknowledge God in what they do, and they take care of their families. And I said, I want to know them. Okay? All right? So now, without further delay, I want to introduce you to Jay Hassell.
Wow. I could just sit back down right now. That was so good. Thank you so much, Beth. And we're going to actually tag team you. Burke was so kind. As a matter of fact, Burke mentioned to me, he said, hey, Jay, there's no way you can follow Beth and Katie. I'm going to have to get up here with you. So I appreciate that so much. And I wanted to add, Katie, I loved your answer about the story, just how'd you get from yoga to doing what you're doing today. I mean, you've probably been asked that, but that was such a heartfelt answer. But I thought that was just a great way that you put that. There's so much to it, obviously, what you do that goes well beyond just, you know, the outside, how we all look. I did take from that, though, the example number one, we have to get sport coats. I'm feeling really self-conscious right now.
I'm very self-conscious. I got to go home and get rid of some sweatpants.
Yeah.
My ratios are way out. That was a great presentation, and I think you'll find that ours actually kind of extends that. So Beth did ask us to talk about branding and branding for faith-based companies, because there can definitely be conflict. I mean, we're humans. We're all constantly struggling between, you know, the world and the message, or the word and the world. So, you know, it's like, how do you deal with that? And, you know, the biggest answer is just the best way you can at the time. But, so we're going to talk about branding. Again, kind of just, you know, what is branding? Katie did a great job of explaining that, and we won't go into a lot of detail on that, but, you know, people do spend a lot of money. Big companies spend an insane amount of money trying to build a brand, create a brand, or save their brand. So, depending on where they're at. So we thought we'd actually start this off and walk you through some of our own decisions and how we kind of branded Novologic and Cornerstone. And so a lot of people, especially small companies or startups, they think, well, my brand is my logo. And the brand is part of your logo. It's a symbol of your logo, but it's definitely not, or a symbol of your brand, but it's definitely not your brand. All right, it's what you want your brand to be. So when we looked at the Cornerstone logo, we knew this was, you know, a combination of stuff we were doing at Novologic and Cornerstone, and we actually put some very subtle but serious thought into what we were doing. So if you look at this, this has got the symbolic fish that represents Christ's disciples. We actually made, for the Cornerstone is in front of Novologic. Novologic is there supporting what's happening at Cornerstone. They're separate but together, so the C and the N never actually touch, but they are connected. There's a symbolic cross in the logo, and the shape at the end there is a bridge. So we're there to help bridge other companies on their path to success. So that's some of the thought process that goes into it. I would encourage, if you don't have a logo or you're thinking about doing a new logo, put some thought about what you really want it to represent, other than it just looks cool. So, because it does help kind of underpin your message, your story going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a good, Burke, that's a good, as we segue from Katie and really the more technical side of it, because that's all critical. I mean, let's face it, Beth did such a great job at saying that we're in business to make money, because we've got to put ourselves in a position of influence, and that's the word that you always use, and it's so, and we don't have to apologize for that. So, but again, a little bit more of, as we start talking about faith-based, and really as you start talking about your brand, we threw up here, we just wanted to share very quickly with all of you, and really the credit goes to Burke and his wife and Steve Taylor, the founder of Novologic. They had this in place well before I got here. But very quickly, the mission: with God's guidance, sustain a business that benefits the life of everybody it touches. The values, the products we sell will be integrity, professionalism, and caring. Everyone will relentlessly pursue our passion, providing our clients with innovative solutions. At all times, each of us will ensure our clients' confidence in us while providing them the security their best interest is in our hearts and our actions. Really, and as we read that, I mean, that's beautiful, okay? But if you're, as a company or an organization, if your values and your purpose isn't aligned with your brand's value and its purpose, then you're going to try to create a brand from the inside out. If those two things are aligned, if your organization's purpose and its values are aligned with your brand's purpose and values, then you can build your brand from within, inside out. And it's really, if you think about it, when we talk about brand, you've got all these components, but really your brand comes down to your people. It's your culture, it's who you are, it's who you claim to be, it's your passion, it's your character, it's your competency.
It's got to be authentic. So we were meeting with a gentleman yesterday who gave a great analogy, and it's, people can fake stuff for so long. It's like stretching a rubber band and making shapes out of it. You can do that, but you can only hold it so long, and eventually it's going to come back and be a circle. So with your brand, it needs to be authentic. If you're not an energetic person, don't create an energetic brand. It's going to be, if your brand is going to be high-end quality, but you're always shopping for a bargain and looking for that. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with it being either way, but they need to line up. So, you can only fake it for so long. And so we definitely encourage companies to be authentic with their brand.
Beth, you can create a high-energy brand. Yeah. And this is, as Katie did such a great job. I mean, your business card is certainly a very visual component of your brand. We just wanted to, show you one of our business cards. And as we really talk about this branding, and listen, I get it in regards to, I think if we're really being honest with ourselves, and you're trying to grow a business, and maybe you're at that you're at the very beginning stages of that, you're not going to be human if you don't say, wow, do I want to, how much do I want to bring my faith into my company, okay? Am I going to potentially push people away, clients, revenue, okay? I think it's a very fair question, it's a very fair concern, and I can just give you my thoughts around it, and you know, you can look at it a couple of different ways, and there might be some people, you know, if you look at our card, we've got at the bottom here, with God's guidance, sustain a business that benefits the life of everybody it touches. If, you know, I kind of look at it this way, I'm not going to slap anybody upside the forehead with that, you know, when I first meet them. If somebody comes up to me and says, hey, Jay, how are you? You know, what do you do? I don't reply, well, with God's guidance, I try to sustain. You know, I mean, you know, that would probably, they just go, he's a little weird, okay? But I think just having that on our card, I think it kind of sets a benchmark. It sets a certain, an accountability. I mean, there's a huge responsibility that comes with that. And until you kind of walk that, you know, you don't really get that. But I know it influences me because I don't want to let that down. Okay, I mean, there are certain expectations for me, which is good. I probably need that. Okay, so it helps me. And the other side of that too is you know, I'm sure at some point in time somebody might look at that and it might turn them off. They might look at our website and go, I'm not sure I want to work with these guys. Okay, I would venture to say that God probably puts more people to line up and say, I want to work with these guys than they don't. You know, so.
It was, you know, it did take a while to get the confidence and to do this. So I mean, if you know, if you're not there yet, don't beat yourself up. But just continue to pray about it and kind of keep doing it.
And just, you know, this ties back a little bit more in just taking it a little bit to a deeper level, for lack of a better word, when you talk about your brand and what that really means. I know everybody's kind of heard the saying that a man or a woman's character is really, and I'll butcher this, but your character is really defined by the things that you do when nobody's looking. Well, I'll say the brand is really the same thing. I mean, your brand is what are people, what are they saying about you and your company when you're not in the room? That's your brand, okay? Like it or not, that is truly your brand. So, you know, I think, you know, as Burke touched on a little bit, you really got to take a step back and just decide, you know, what's important and where do you want to make a stand. I mean, it's not easy to do, but sometimes you just have to take a stand. And, you know, as I always like, it's an easy word for me to always come back with when somebody says, well, how do you know? And I say, you don't, but that's kind of what faith is. I mean, so you've got to have some faith, right? Yeah.
And it gets back to what Katie had mentioned too in her presentation. Your brand is really about how people feel about you. So, and you can go so far with making them feel about you, where, you know, what your website looks like and what your business card looks like and all that. And that gives a good first impression, but the long-lasting perception and feel does come through, like you mentioned, in what you do and how you do it. And so that's so incredibly important. So it's don't just focus on, when you're thinking about branding your company, don't just focus on what does it look like. That's very important. It's critical for the first impression. But then really take a look at what are my policies, what are my practices, how am I going to conduct myself, how are my employees going to conduct themselves, and how are they going to know how they should conduct themselves. And it really goes, you know, you got to do that if you want to sustain that brand as you continue to grow. All right, so we wanted to throw up here because, right, yeah. Who can go ahead, throw out which ones are faith-based?
There's a prize if you can tell us how many are versus how many aren't.
Forever 21, Chick-fil-A, Hobby Lobby, Tyson. All of them. In-N-Out Burger, all of them.
All right, congratulations. I'll get that free but they all are.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, actually doing kind of preparing this presentation, I was actually really surprised at Forever 21. I know my girls love that place. But they didn't.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
But they all are. And if you look at them, none of these logos have a fish in it or a cross or right. But
Man, what are we doing?
But how do you guys know that they're faith-based? The way they treat you. The way they treat you, and the the way you get treated is because of the way the employers treat the employees, and that all comes from following biblical principles.
Yeah, yeah.
So again, just to...
Yeah, you know, to me, this is really, and we're very, very blessed because we get to work with a lot of companies and a lot of large organizations and have the same conversation. And oftentimes that conversation is around, we want to really redefine our brand, which is, to me, that's a tough task, okay? It's one thing to start off and say, okay, I know what my brand is and let's create it. But when you're talking about potentially redefining it, that's a very, very tough task. But to me, this is your brand right here. You talk about your craft. I mean, what do you do? Okay. I mean, what do you do and what do you do very well? And, you know,
high quality, low quality.
Yeah.
High cost,
Yeah.
low quality.
The other day, and you probably told me this, Burke's always got stats, and he read this and read that, and I think you said something about consumers were surveyed, 93% of consumers surveyed, if all things were equal, price and quality, that they would change brands to work with a company that was doing something socially supportive and good. Okay, I mean, people resonate to that. And, you know, when I look at, you know, what we talk about, the fact that we love God, I mean, I don't know, does it get any better than that? Yeah. So, you know, to me, that's where I kind of dismiss all that. You know, I'm scared to share that a little bit. You know, it is what it is. But with that craft, there's a story, and with a lot of the large companies that we talk to, if you think about it, let's take like quick serve restaurants, okay? You know, the craft is the same. I'm flipping burgers, I'm flipping chicken. I mean, I'm making food for fast food service. But there's brands that you walk in and it's a completely different experience from one to the other, okay? That's brand, and if you think about that, I mean, that rolls over into kind of cause, because there's something deep, something more transcendent to what they're doing. Okay, they're flipping burgers, they're flipping chicken, but why is one experience so different than the other? Okay, and it's because they've created a culture. They've maybe brought the right people in. And it's more about flipping burgers. It's about customer service. It's about connecting with the people. It's about community. So that's really where you start really getting deep into your brand and ties over into the culture and the people that you hire. And that goes back to building from the inside out, as I knocked the table over, building from the inside out and really being intentional about the type of brand that you create. So,
and to be, you know, if you really want to go out there and brand yourself as a faith-based company, again, it's not about having a disciple logo on your bumper, you know, or cross on your business card. I mean, those are great things, but it's the cause. It's why are you trying to make that dollar? If you're just trying to make that dollar to buy you another pair of sweatpants you don't need because we already know we have too many. You know, if it's to buy you something else, you know, that, again, you're not being authentic to being a faith-based company. So your cause has to be something good that you're going to do in the world with the money that you're making. And when you start doing that and that kind of lines up, you'll be amazed at where the blessings will start coming.
Awesome.
So it is about practicing what you preach, and we'll go through these kind of real quickly here because I think we're getting close to the time. But you know, in case some people didn't know about some of these brands being faith-based, you know, I mean, Hobby Lobby, right? I mean, their mission statement puts it out there, so they don't hide it. They're a great organization. Interstate Batteries, you know, they're not shy about God talk in their meetings and stuff like that. So, you know, they're living it every day. In-N-Out Burger. By the way, this is probably the most respected franchise of Dan Cathy and Truett Cathy out there. They frequent In-N-Out Burger a lot. There's a lot of collaboration going on between those two organizations because they both have the same purpose.
yeah, personally and professionally.
Right? They have different markets. You know, they got different businesses. They're both trying to make a ton of money, but they're making a ton of money for God, not for themselves. So.
And just a little side note to that, Chick-fil-A, you mentioned Chick-fil-A, they give Well, this year it'll be about, what, $400 million they'll give to charities. $400 million. I mean, that's kind of walking the talk a little bit. You know, they give 10% of what they make, which I think this year they're going to make about $4 billion.
Which is a great segue into.
Hey, Burke put this whole presentation together, trust me.
A great segue. So I know it's always a scary thing. I went through it myself, but man, won't I alienate consumers who don't share my same faith, you know? And man, this couldn't be a better case story out there. And everybody here probably knows it, so I won't go into a lot of detail, but you know, I mean, they just got raked through the coals over their beliefs. Whether you totally agree with, you know, the degrees and the language that was used, whatever, but during that time when everybody said this is the end of Chick-fil-A, it's going to be over.
You know, this was, what, not even a year ago.
Not even a year ago. And we have, this is one of our clients, so we're very intimately familiar with this group. But, you know, I mean, their revenue increased 14%. It went from $4.1 billion to $4.6 billion.
I think it wasn't it Huckabee that, did he kind of jump on it and he had, was it Appreciate Chick-fil-A Day or something?
Appreciate Chick-fil-A.
A week later, and their profits have gone up since then, not down.
On the boycott Chick-fil-A Day, their in-store revenue increased across every store. On the support Chick-fil-A Day, it went up again. So, I'm not saying that you won't alienate some customers, but again, what we found is God will bring more, you know, God will bring the right people into your life if you have faith and you're doing it for the right reasons. And so, you know, here I just came across, because I know this was one of the questions that we get asked a lot and most people are scared of. So, actually, I don't know who Brewer Marketing is, but just going out there looking for faith-based companies, came across this. I know it's kind of hard to read here, so we'll blow it up. But, you know, this is how they kind of put it out there to their customers. Hey, we're faith-based, but we'll let you decide whether that's positive or negative. But, you know, my faith is, you know, my faith challenges me to do good stuff. And, you know, I'm not going to hold that against people who don't share my same faith. I'm still going to do good stuff for you. And so, you know, we're going to give back to our community. Now, if those things don't resonate with you, then I guess.
I know. I mean, if that doesn't work, you know, I don't know what else to tell you.
If that doesn't work, then you know what? Maybe we aren't right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We're probably going to be better off.
I'll tell you. And I'll tell you that and this is something that we all learn at Novologic, but Burke often will tell us, sometimes you got to say no. You know, sometimes you just have to say no to people. And that could be for a variety of different reasons, but it doesn't always have to be, you know, you might not get the client. I mean, sometimes maybe you might not want to work with that group. You know?
So we came up with some resources we wanted to leave everybody with. You know, so here's some resources. Obviously, the first one we should always go to is the Bible, God. So if you go to God in prayer with your business, you'll be surprised that you kind of turn it over to Him. He's going to help you figure out where to go if you're over listening. Obviously, GCB Network is a great resource. We've got some great folks out there on the table, so let's stop by those. Crown is a really interesting group. I don't know if anybody's heard of Crown. Yeah. They actually, when I decided to really focus our business on doing it through biblical principles, I actually went out and got this book. Business by the Book. It's a great book. I would encourage everybody to go get it. You know, it can be a little dry read, but it's good. It's a good book. The Crown actually does a seminar to help people understand this book and how to apply it actually practically in the business. So it's a great resource. We're going to make this presentation available through our Facebook page later, so we'll make sure that gets out to everybody. Katie, if you want us to put yours out there, we can do that too, if that's okay. And so you guys can have these presentations as well.
Wow.
So that's kind of all we have. Does anybody have any questions, comments, ridicule the outfits?
Constructive criticism.
Constructive criticism.
I thought it was great. Actually, in my mission statement, it made me think to go a little bit further, because I say in there, we're a faith-based business, and that's rare in our industry. So now I'm gonna put a little more.
Hey, be bold. Be bold.
Anybody just personally, you kind of challenged with that? I mean, I know there's some hesitation. There's got to be. Yeah.
No, I mean, I was just telling my friend today that I was telling her that we don't need to apologize or be ashamed that we believe in God. And I told her, on this earth, our job is to serve Him. And if people cannot accept that, then we don't need to be doing business with them. It's just that simple. I was just telling her that today. I am not going to apologize. You know, so.
Our faith is the only one where the person that we worship was brutally murdered. And all his apostles were brutally murdered after him. So, I mean, we're either completely insane, you know, or there really is something. I mean, if his apostles who lived with him and saw him get brutally murdered like that, and still followed him to their own death.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know what else kind of witness you can have. There must be something to this. So it's, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, be bold out there. I would encourage you all to be bold, and you're going to have doubts. I mean, some of you may, but don't feel bad about that. Just pray on it, and that'll lead you to the right times. Any other questions?
Forgive me if you already said so, but what is Cornerstone?
Cornerstone is a meeting and co-working space. So we do events like this. So if your business wants to hold an event, we'd love to, you know, host that for you guys. If you need space to work out of temporarily, you know, like if you work from home or you travel, you know, your business is, maybe your office is on the other side of town, and you know, you're a roving person, but you want a place to land every now and then, and this is close to your home, this would be a good place to work out of a couple days a week. If you want to host just a 6-person, 10, 15-person meeting with a client or other team members, you can do that here. So we have memberships available, which give you full access to all the facilities at no additional charge, or you can do day passes. And then Novologic is Novologic is kind of the parent company for this space, and we do corporate communications, training, e-learning, we do culture. We're in the past few years we've gotten into helping companies try to either hold on to the culture that the founders had now that they've grown, like Chick-fil-A, and you know, kind of start getting that diminishing influence as they keep hiring new people. So how do we create communications, the training and events to...
How do you not only sustain it, but how do you continue to drive it forward as just, you know, new people come on board?
So kind of do a lot of, we're kind of MacGyver on that, on the Novologic side of the house. If you got a problem, bring it to us and we'll figure out.
The easy way, kind of technology and learning.
Anybody else?
I just want to make a comment to both of you. It's just amazing how God has put you two together to be able to spiritually network the way you're doing and tag team the way that you did this evening. I almost didn't make it, and Beth invited me. I'm so elated to be here because it just shows how God can put two people together. He does it in twos when He sends people out. And I'm just amazed at what I saw beyond what's in this room tonight. And I just want to encourage you guys to continue to do what you're doing because it's really going to bless so many people. How God is going to innovatively show you, as you're already doing, but even beyond what you're doing, to go into the workplace and speak to people in the business world, but yet bringing God in and not leaving Him out, because He's not going to be left out. Even places where people don't want to be called, I believe God's going to send you guys in and he's anointed you to do it. And so I just want to commend you for what you did here tonight.
Thank you.